Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on something you deal with every single day. How a website seems to remember you, like from one click to the next.
So let's kick things off with a question that, honestly, we've all probably wondered about. You add something to your online shopping cart. You click around on a dozen other pages, you come back, and it's still there. How? How does that even work? Well, it's not magic, but it is a really fascinating system of tech, and we're going to break it all down, piece by piece.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First up, we're going to look at the website's long-term memory. Its brain, really. Then we'll get into how it actually talks to that brain. And finally, we'll uncover the clever little tricks it uses to remember you, specifically you during your visit. So let's start with that brain.
All right, first things first. For a website to remember anything long-term, it needs a brain, right? A permanent place to keep all its data. And for a huge chunk of the internet, that brain is called MySQL. So what is MySQL? The easiest way to think about it is like a giant, perfectly organized digital filing cabinet. Seriously, this is where a website stores all the important stuff. User accounts, product lists, blog posts, you name it, it's in there. So, you might be asking, why MySQL? Why did it become such a powerhouse? Well, it's this perfect storm, really. It's fast, it's free, and it's incredibly reliable. So reliable, in fact, that it became the foundation for absolute giants like Yahoo and even parts of Google.
And the data isn't just, tossed into a digital shoebox. No way. It's all meticulously organized into these super clean tables. You've got columns for different types of info and rows for each specific entry. It's this structure that makes the whole thing so logical and crazy efficient.
Okay, so we've got this amazing digital filing cabinet, this brain. That's great, but how does the website actually talk to it? How does it get information in and out? Well, that's the very next piece of our puzzle.
And this is where a little something called PHP steps in. If MySQL is the library, then you can think of PHP as the super smart, hyper-efficient librarian. And this librarian speaks a very special language called SQL, that stands for Structured Query Language, to manage all the books on the shelves.
Now, using this SQL language, our librarian can basically make 4 core requests. It can create a new record, read an existing one, update it with new information, or just delete it entirely. And get this, these 4 actions are the building blocks for pretty much everything a website does with data.
Let's take an example. Say the website needs a list of just the last names of all its employees. The PHP librarian sends this very specific request, we call it a query, to the MySQL database. It's a super direct question. And what does it get back? Exactly what it asked for. Not the whole table, not all the extra info, just that one last name column. It's that precision that makes the whole system so incredibly fast.
Okay, so this all sounds great, but there's a huge problem. A massive flaw, really. By its very nature, the web is stateless. What does that mean? It means every single time you click a new link, the website completely forgets who you are. It's like you're meeting for the first time over and over again. Imagine that librarian who can find any book in a split second, but has absolutely no memory of the person they just helped. That's the problem we need to fix.
So, how do we fix it? How do we give the web some kind of short-term memory? Well, the first tool in our toolbox is something I guarantee you've heard of, the cookie. The best way to think of it is like a quick digital handshake.
So what is a cookie, really? It's just a tiny little text file. That's it. The website server hands it to your browser, and your browser holds onto it. Then every time you visit a new page on that site, your browser shows the cookie back to the server. It's basically a digital name tag constantly saying, hey, remember me, I'm this person.
Now, cookies are great for simple stuff, but when you get into more important tasks, things like managing a shopping cart or keeping you logged in securely, we need something a little safer, a little more powerful. And for that, we need sessions.
A session is also kind of like a temporary file about your visit. But, and this is the key difference, unlike a cookie, this file lives on the website's server, not on your computer. Think of it as the website's own private notepad, where it jots down notes about what you're doing right now. And that right there is the single most important difference between them. Let's make it super clear. Cookies are stored on your computer, what we call the client side. Sessions are stored on the website's computer, the server side. And honestly, that one simple distinction, it changes everything. See, because sessions live on the server, they can hold way more information, and they're a lot more secure. Plus, they usually just disappear when you close your browser. Cookies, on the other hand, are smaller, They're less secure, but they can be designed to stick around for a really, really long time, sometimes even years. All right, so let's recap. We've met all the key players, right? We've got MySQL as the long-term brain, we've got PHP as the librarian who talks to the brain, and we've got cookies and sessions as the short-term memory. So now, let's put it all together and see how this team works in a real-world scenario, like logging into a website.
It's basically a 4-step dance, and it happens in a flash. 1, you type in your username and password. 2, PHP takes that info and asks the MySQL database, hey, is this person legit? 3, if the database says yes, PHP starts a session over on the server to remember that you're logged in. And 4, it sends a cookie back to your browser that contains just one thing, a unique ID for that session. That little cookie is now your temporary ID card for the rest of your visit.
So when you boil it all down, what you really have are two completely different kinds of memory, and they're working together in perfect harmony just to create a totally seamless experience for you. On one hand, you've got the permanent library-like memory of the MySQL database. That's where all the core information is stored. And on the other hand, you've got the temporary, personal memory of sessions and cookies, which are all about handling your specific individual visit right now. And you know, a huge reason this combination of PHP and MySQL became so totally dominant on the web was its incredible flexibility. I mean, think about this for a second. You could build a website on your Windows computer and then turn around and serve it to the entire world from a completely different system, like Unix, with zero issues. That kind of cross-platform power, it was absolutely revolutionary at the time. And all this leaves us with one final big question to think about. This whole intricate system, it was all built to make our digital lives more convenient, right? But now that you've seen behind the curtain, now that you know how it all works, how your data is stored and how your visits are tracked, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Where do we draw the line? What's the right balance between all this amazing convenience and our own personal privacy?